Well, good morning. Let's go to school this morning. I want to thank you all for joining us for a few minutes here early this morning. I want to talk a little bit about some history before we begin today's debate, but I want to begin by thanking Chairman Bonnie Rich for being here and for her exemplary work she has done as Chairman of the Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committee. I couldn't have asked anybody to work harder, more diligently, more patiently with members, and more fairly than she has. Before we begin what will likely be a contentious debate on House Bill 1EX, the State House map, I wanted to offer you all a brief history lesson that I hope you will share in your reporting with your viewers, listeners, and readers, because I think history is a good guide to the future, and it's important. In 2001, this state was under Democratic control. The governor was a Democrat, the lieutenant governor was a Democrat, the Speaker of the House was a Democrat, Democratic majorities in both chambers of the legislature. They produced maps that they tried to sell as fair. Those maps were thrown out as unconstitutional after several rounds of litigation, ultimately led to the 2004 decision in the U.S. Supreme Court case of Cox versus Larios. Citing the district court's ruling, Justice Stevens wrote that Democratic incumbents attempted to draw districts that would enhance their own prospects at re-election and further their other political ends, and targeted particular Republicans to prevent their re-election. The district court ruling continued that in the House plan, 47 incumbents were paired, including 37 Republicans, which was 50% of the Republican caucus. Only 9 Democrats, which was less than 10% of their caucus, and 1 independent. I bring that up, and I know the other caucus doesn't like to talk about that. But that was the last map produced by the Democratic caucus when they were in control of this General Assembly. And it is a case study in gerrymandering, and one that was vacated by the U.S. Supreme Court. Now I want to contrast that with what happened in 2011. It was my second year as Speaker of this House. We had a Republican majority, and we produced fair maps that were the first in Georgia history to be pre-cleared by the United States Department of Justice without a single change. And before you think, well, they must have done something with the Justice Department, let me remind you that at that time the president was Barack Obama and his Attorney General was Eric Holder, and they approved our maps. Not only did we obtain pre-clearance approval, but they survived every legal challenge thrown at them. This was the House map that we adopted in 2011. Over here you have the map that was adopted in 2001 and was declared void by the Supreme Court. This one was approved by the Justice Department and survived every legal challenge. This is the map. This is the map we will debate today. It was drawn in compliance with applicable law, including the Voting Rights Act, and was guided by the principles adopted by the Reapportionment Committee. It was informed by a wealth of input, both from members of the House and the general public. From hours of public testimony to hundreds upon hundreds of public comments submitted online, we did our best to let everyone use their voice. We did this in spite of the extraordinarily tight timeline forced on us by the U.S. Census Bureau's delayed data release due to COVID-19. So what you will see today is a debate about Georgia's future. It is a critically important one as we seek to ensure fair and equitable representation. But it also happens within the context of our past. I am proud of the track record our Republican majority has established over the last decade. I am proud of the work that has gone into this map that we will debate today, and I am proud that we have not only drawn a map that is legally sound, but is also fair. Now, not everybody's going to be happy. Not all the Republicans are going to be happy. And that's the case with every piece of legislation that we pass. But we have done the best we can to balance competing priorities with the data that was delivered to us. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share this information with you, and I'll be happy to take a couple of three questions before we go into session.
Do you have the exact number of pairings between the parties and incumbents for this map?
There are,
Six.
I think there are 5. We have 1 Democrat Republican, 1 Democrat pairing, and 2 Republican pairings.
So does that include people that are not running for office? Or that doesn't include people that are not running?
It does
No,
not,
that-
it takes that into account.
That's, all of those people want to come back, I assume. I haven't heard otherwise.
Mr. Speaker, another reporter is going to be here asking us this question about Philip Singleton's claim that Coit is being split up. Is possible retribution against opposing you?
That is absolutely not true. And he knows it's not true. He is being, I think, led by a group of political mercenaries that are using him for their own ends. The truth of the matter is that his district had to be drawn in the way it was drawn in order for us to comply with the Voting Rights Act. Otherwise, we would open ourselves up to an allegation of packing the adjoining district. So that was the reason for that. It's a compelling legal reason and has nothing to do with political payback. Look, I don't have time for political payback. You know, I'm busy, and I'm kind of getting to a point where my skin's pretty tough now, and I've taken a punch or two. So, you know, these things don't bother me, and so, you know, I'm just not going to engage in that.
We have a final question.
Mr. Speaker, how long can you use the Democrats' sins in 2001 against them? Will that still be good in 2030?
If we keep a majority between now and then, absolutely. I think their last map, Jeff, is perfectly relevant. And again, I know they don't want to talk about it. There are things in all of our past we don't want to talk about. But the truth of the matter, those were atrocious maps, and they were drawn with all these multi-member districts and all these pairings because the Democratic caucus at that time was trying to defy political gravity and maintain a majority, and they proved that, you know, that was going too far under the law.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.